Okay, thank you. Yeah, as you just said, my name's Marvin and this is Gill, and today we're here to sort of talk about an asset-based community development approach to health improvement in Stoke-on-Trent. During the sort of presentation, we're going to be going through sort of a little bit of background information, so how we came about, the approaches and things that we've done to engage with the community, activities which we've held in different areas of Stoke-on-Trent, some of the challenges we've faced, and some of the successes we've had during the time we've been working, and the importance of implementing sustainability into everything which we've done from the start. We're going to talk about partnership working before just showing you a few of the outcomes which we've had during the length of the project, and then also we'll finish on how we're moving forward in partnership with connecting communities and the development of neighbourhood partnerships which we're currently working on. Okay, so basically for the last 5 years we've been working in specific communities in Stoke-on-Trent, and it's been about community-led interventions aimed at reducing health inequalities in Stoke-on-Trent, and we've been doing that since 2009. We've been commissioned by the City of Stoke-on-Trent Public Health, NHS Stoke, Stoke-on-Trent City Council and VAST, and we're actually managed by a voluntary sector organisation which is called Changes, which is a mental health charity in Stoke-on-Trent, and they won the tender, and we work in association with Suffolk University.
If I was to look at my job description from 5 years ago, it wouldn't really represent my job as it is today. It didn't say that I'd have to have an unshakable faith in the community, that I'd have to be a serial connector, that I'd have to inspire and get a sense of excitement, and that I would have to have a vision that I could see the bigger picture. I'd have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I would have to have the humility to lead from behind, creating the space for change. Now I realise that on a daily basis, my role is led by the community, and we have to adapt, be flexible and open to new ideas. At times, it is difficult, but it can also be very fun and rewarding. My Community Matters is an asset-based community development approach to improving the wider health and well-being of needs of communities and neighbourhoods which have been recognised by the Department of Health for a good model of practice and is a growing of practice nationally. The basic tenets of this work is that it's community-led, a bottom-up approach. It works through the development of community partnerships in which citizens and service providers have a relationship of equals. It's solution-based and it builds on assets in the community and recognises where there is a problem in the community, the solution is also in the community. By using this approach, it has helped us to resolve some of the health inequalities and issues these communities face. Building relationships is the starting point. Talking to the people in the street, meeting for a cup of tea, attending groups, holding drop-ins, etc. It takes time to build up that trust and relationships, but it's vital for you to move forward. When you're in a conversation with residents, they often say, "There's nothing to do where I live, and there's nowhere to go," and they feel that they have no skills or of any benefit to anyone else. The next step we had to do was to map out all those local assets, the services, the organisations, and more importantly, all the skills that the residents had. We found people who enjoyed knitting, crafts, singing, gardening, cooking, and much, much more. This information gave us as a team the knowledge to motivate and install confidence in the community that they had underused resources and the skills to bring them back into use with only minimal support from ourselves. We had to think on our feet and be prepared to learn new skills alongside them, helping them to organise anything that would bring the community together, however random it might seem. It's no use putting on sessions and events without actually asking what the residents want. You can't make presumptions. Feeding back to the community on things that have been discussed needs to be done within a very short period of time. We've always made a conscious effort to contact them by their preferred method, whether it be by text, phone, email or by newsletter. The last thing they want to know is that another service provider has let them down and that you don't value their opinions. In Stoke-on-Trent, we've been very lucky that our partners have been supportive and believe in this way of working. Collectively, they've pooled resources, attended workshops and events, signposted services that were not being accessed, and it has been a two-way process of supporting each other in relation to action issues that are raised. Ultimately, our aim is to support residents in sustaining their aspirations and their vision. Together, we've applied for funding, ensured that they have had training to build on their skills and confidence, that partners are committed to help them make those changes, and that the future decisions and actions are led by them and not by us. Some of the activities that we did, we used participatory appraisal, which is a creative way to capture information. Any consultation that we do is always fun and interactive, and it involves everyone. We use images, maps, diagrams, charts, etc., and lots of post-it notes. We also do lots of workshops around self-esteem, confidence building, health eating, exercising, cooking on a budget, anything really that captures their imagination. We also have community maps and cafes, which is another way, an informal way of capturing data. We use a map of the neighbourhood where they can put on the comments of what they like and dislike about where they live, and it makes it more personal to them. We have participated in a wide range of fun events, but one of the lessons learned is not to promote them as a health event, as this does deter people from attending. Be creative and you'll get the message still across. We use central assets to have drop-ins. It's a good opportunity to relax and have a chat with everybody and listen. Also, we've purchased some disposable cameras to encourage families to capture what they like and dislike about where they live, and help also to build intelligence. Community walkabouts. This is a brilliant opportunity to get a feel of the area and meet the residents and show them that you do care about where they live. We also delivered over 10,000 DVDs through doors, which have things like cook and eat on, demonstrations on, exercise, health tips, and also things like relaxation and general wellbeing ideas. The type of social media that we have most success with is Facebook, Twitter, and the websites. Some of the challenges that we had, that health wasn't a priority for the residents in the targeted communities. Some people didn't even know where their next meal was coming from. Some people didn't even know if they had a roof over their heads for the next day. They didn't trust the local services due to false promises and cutbacks. And because of their low self-esteem and aspirations, getting the residents to believe in themselves and that things can change was a really big challenge. In relation to local services, a lot of the services made decisions for the communities as they felt that they knew what they wanted. They were reluctant to let go of that power. Many services were also blinkered to how other services could complement their work and unaware of partners who could link with them. Sometimes we focus on quantity rather than quality. Targets can sometimes get in the way of providing a quality service, and service providers can become despondent due to the restraints put on them.
Okay, so some of the successes which we've had in the sustainability, and I think Eamon in the previous talk spoke about the importance of sort of quick wins in the areas which we were sort of working in. A lot of the problems have been set in for years, and the problems are probably going to be there for years to come, despite our service being there. So it was just really important that we could go into these areas and find out what we could help with. So, you know, people would come to us and say, there's nothing going on here, there's no activities. So we'd put some activities on. People would say, the area's dirty, you know, people don't look after it, they don't respect the areas. So we organised things like litter picks, and we just got residents involved. So it quickly helped us to sort of build a relationship. We started getting trust and faith in the projects which we were doing, and getting a face in that community and getting that trust. So that was how we sort of started, and some of the early successes which we've had. we've been involved in a great number of community projects as well, which we've had some real good success with, which I'll talk about a little later. And community champions, these are the sort of residents, I'm sure you've probably all heard the phrase community champions, and to be honest, it's not a phrase which the residents that we've ever come into contact with are that keen on being called a community champion. The residents generally that sort of do the work are people who just do it because they love it. It just comes natural to them. So, you know, I'll discuss one of our community champions or just amazing residents. And we've had some success through physical asset development. So, you know, the importance of finding out in a lot of these communities, they haven't got a lot going for them, or they may have a little bit a centre or something which just got that little bit of potential and just needs developing. So, talk about that. Obviously, funding is very important. You know, without funding, we're unable to put a lot of activities on. And during a time where obviously we've had the recession, a lot of budget cuts, we've been able to work with community groups who've managed to still get a lot of funding and deliver services. And then I just wanted to sort of tell you about the Pride in the Community Awards, which it's the Signal One, which is a sort of local radio station through Stoke-on-Trent and Cheshire and Staffordshire. One of the ladies who we've sort of worked with throughout our project entirety, Mary here, she was recently nominated for the Contribution to the Community Award. She's 75 years old. She's always sort of been involved in community work and stuff, and she now sort of cooks at a sheltered accommodation for up to like 30 people once a week. She's worked with us to set up a friendship group. The friendship group actually started with 3 people in a room, but now 30 people attend near enough every week, which, I mean, even as a service, when we try and get 30 people in a room, it's hard, but she's managed to do that, so she does that. And she cooks at a luncheon club, and what's even more amazing about Mary is she doesn't drive or anything like that. She goes and gets all the food. She just does a walk-in, gets on the bus, takes all the food, and then goes and cooks it. And she also runs a luncheon club and raises funds, and any funds that she gets get pumped back into the community. And she actually won the award, and it's sort of, we're so proud of her because it's someone who we've been involved in from the start, and she sort of personifies what our service has been about and working around these people. So special mention to Mary, really. Okay, and these are some of the other successes which we've had, really. So in the top sort of right, this is a community garden project which we ran, and this was where a resident sort of identified a plot of land which was unused, but he sort of believed, you know, he had the idea of turning it into a little allotment. So he worked alongside us, and we managed to get some funding, and then from that he started his work, and he got the local school involved. So as you can see, some of the young people and the children came along, helped him to sort of plant the seeds, and they maintained the area. And then when they'd grown the produce, the young people he went back into the school. Some of the people in that area, they didn't actually understand at that point where fruit and veg come from, that it came out the ground, and knew what carrots were and things like that. It was unbelievable. So they were sort of getting the education from that, and then also the children's centre started to get the produce and started selling it to families in the area. So they were getting money back in, and it became sustainable. And the children's centre have sort of taken that allotment space on now, and it's one of the activities which they do to sort of maintain it. And that's so down here with the apron on, that's Howard, and this was sort of the community champion or the resident which I sort of wanted to talk about as well. He's just such a talented man, and one of his special skills is just he's an exceptional chef, and I can tell you from experience, like, his food's just unbelievably good. Like, so we sort of identified that, and he took great enjoyment from telling us about the foods that he cooked. So we put him on sort of the food safety hygiene certificates, and we just asked him if he wanted to help out at some of our events and activities, and a lot of them, we did events in parks, we did just activity days in centres, and what we always did is, because food always sells, we just had Howard on doing a cooking demonstration, and he's an entertainer, so he just got the crowd there, and he was giving people a taste of new foods which they hadn't experienced before. But From that, the opportunity arose that he could go and take the Let's Get Cooking course. So he went and completed that, and then he now works in the community, teaching people throughout the city of Stoke-on-Trent, teaching people basic skills of how to cook and getting them through that. And he's also continued to sort of do our events and activities, but he's earning a regular source of income from what he's doing. So it's just been a really satisfying sort of story for ourselves, and obviously for him, he's found it really rewarding, and the amount of people's lives he's touching is you know, it's a large amount. Up here, you can see them playing football. This was actually an existing youth project which was working in one of the communities, and we went in and did some of the sort of participatory appraisal, creative consultation which we mentioned before, and we asked them what do they like about the youth club, what could make it better, and the resounding response was that they wanted some sports, and that so we started looking at how we could get them some sports, and they could have some sports sessions, and we put together a sort of plan which would take these young people from having sports sessions to go and get involved in on a regular basis to maybe some of them developing and learning how to actually lead the sessions and take sport leaders courses, and make sure that should the funding run out or should a service fall away, they could hopefully be able to maintain that. And Sported, who gave us the first bit of funding, they really appreciated what we tried to do, and we received £8,000 for them. So we were able to start up the regular sports sessions as we proposed. We later went on to get some match funding and got another 5,000. So again, just a small conversation with some young people in a room has led to £13,000 worth of money coming in to the project, and also it's led to these young people who they were sort of big fish in a small pond type people. They didn't really go out of their area, and that in the skills were they were just all right at football. Being a football man, like they were just average, like, and sort of their skills have sort of over the weeks you just saw them develop, and also the personalities have developed through these sessions, and now they come round, they get the kit, they set up the sessions, and they've started to go out and play other youth projects throughout the city. And again, these were people who didn't really come out of their little areas, so they're now out there playing against other youth groups and socialising with people who they didn't before. So again, just been a really rewarding project to be involved with, and they're really enjoying it. And then finally, I'll just talk to you about the Portland Centre. Where this centre's based, where it's all nice and colourful here, it wasn't like that 5 years ago. In fact, the street probably still remains one of the most chaotic and sort of depressing sort of streets in Stoke-on-Trent. It's really run down, and you know, there's so many issues with housing and things like that it's not so good. And I went there around about 5 years ago, and I asked them to give me the negatives about living in the area, give me some positives, and the negatives, the list was as long as my arm, like it was just depressing. I just didn't, you know, I came out thinking, what am I going to do here? But we had got one positive, and that was that this centre had some potential. And I added one that I'd got 3 or 4 people in the room that night who cared. So that was another positive. So I had about 25 negatives and 2 positives to sort of leave with and get on with. But the group of residents who I mentioned, we came together, and with the support of a few services, we set up a management committee, and we started to look at the things that the ladies wanted going on in the centre and how they thought it could be a success. And again, we started looking into funds that we could get to deliver. So we had some real good success with funding with this project. So the first thing I think we got in was some Zumba. The ladies wanted some Zumba sessions, so that was the craze at the time, and everyone started doing that, and it was sort of give us the first experience of managing money as a committee. And then from that we went on to we gained funding for the kitchen to be all kitted out and that, so we could do cook and eats from there. We got we started a youth club. So there was a youth club. We had youth services who we commissioned to come in and deliver a youth club every week to the young people. But most importantly, we managed to get a paid member of staff in there working part-time. So 2 days a week now, we've got a community development worker in this centre who works purely for the community and for this centre. And now we work. And the lack of trust which these residents had in like sort of local services, we've started building it back, and now as I was sort of the only partner in a couple on the management committee who was supporting these residents. They didn't really want anybody else's involvement, but now what we found is the other services have come back, and now they're working in the centre, but they're working how we want them to work. They're not coming in so they can go away. They can come in and make these false promises and then leave. What they want to do, they have to make it clear to the management committee, and we have to make sure that we're happy with it as the committee moving forward. And so far it's working. So that's some of the successes which we've had. Okay, I think sort of touched on it throughout as well, the partnership and just the importance. With there being quite a few services in Stoke-on-Trent area, we had to make sure from the start that all our objectives were clear. So we had launch events where, you know, we spelled out to everybody exactly how we're going to be doing it and how we're going to be working. And also we displayed that we weren't sort of recreating the wheel and duplicating services here. So, and we also did some training so people could come in, find out more and have sort of intensive training on as to our approaches and what we were going to be doing. And we've developed really positive relationships with all local services in the community, and it's really important that you do this because, like I say, the last thing you want, if I had a relationship with some residents that was really good, and if I was to tell them that this other service was good as well, that would go a long way to helping them with that, and we found that worked for us. So our reputation was good with local services, and like I say, why recreate the wheel? Just we were really careful not to go out and duplicate them. And also, it's just really important in the times that we've got now, pooling the resources and sort of increasing the capacity to sort of reach our common goals. I think we could all sit there in the office sort of wondering how we're going to meet these targets, you know, isolated, but we found when we came together and started looking at how we could all meet our targets, we found that we've gone beyond them, which has been really good. So.
Over the 3-year period that we were doing the project, we engaged with over 11,525 residents. 1,678 of those were engaged in intervention activities. We had 102 partnerships, 45 volunteers, 15 of which went on to do bigger and better things, and we managed to secure an additional funding over £59,000, which came from various things like the co-op, the ward budgets, and Give It Some, which is a local charity.
Okay. All right, some of the key learning, and just sort of touch on it really. The importance of being open and honest and not making false promises, and using the bottom-up community-led approach. It aids development of trust in communities as it demonstrates their views are valued, and it's particularly important in times of austerity. And by using an asset-based approach, focusing on the positives, include the value of skills, experience and local knowledge. Again, this is where the good work comes from. The value of partnership working, making health everybody's business and making the most of resources by working together. Realising the power of individuals within communities to influence peer, and the importance of gatekeepers in engaging communities. Who better to tell you how to deliver community services than the community itself?
Moving forward, we identified a model called Connecting Communities as the most evidence-based approach to meet our needs. So we joined the National Connecting Communities C2 network in Exeter to support us to take this work forward. We ran a number of sessions for local matters teams and partners about the approach, and we were given very good feedback, and we continue to move forward. The types of outcomes that this approach aims to achieve includes reduced health inequalities. Communities gain confidence, they self-manage, and leaders begin to emerge. Social networks are a powerful health protector against all kinds of illness. Communities begin to negotiate improvements through collaboration with agencies, and the health gap between contrasting neighbourhoods is reduced. Also, you get more responsive services. Services gain a platform for community engagement within specific geographies. Ground-level intelligence helps inform commissioning. Many sectors benefit simultaneously, including the health, the police and education. and frontline staff find their jobs more rewarding and easier. Some of the behaviour change and health and well-being improvements include improving health-related issues around alcohol. It reduces antisocial behaviour, it's been shown to reduce crime, it lowers the rates of child protection, it increases breastfeeding rates, and also health eating and physical activity increases for both children and adults.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly sort of talk to you about how we're sort of moving forward with that and how we've sort of put our sort of spin on it, really. So around about 6 to 8 weeks ago, we started working in an area of Stoke-on-Trent called Normacot. And the first thing that we felt that we had to do with this approach was go and find out exactly what's already in the community. So the services that are already working there, and the community groups which are residing and working from there, and the facilities that we could potentially use moving forward. And then we planned a sort of community walkabout, and this was where we probably got around about 8 residents and then probably about 15, 16 service providers. And what we did is we walked around the area looking at places where there's issues in the community, you know, and hot spots, and then we also looked at places of potential, and we developed a presence in the community, and we found out a lot, and from that and found out a lot about the area which we were going to be working in. We then did what's called a connecting event, where we connected the residents who were with the local services, so they started having a conversation about how they can move forward working together and start tackling some of the issues. And we're currently just planning a listening event, which is where you invite the wider community in to come in and tell us what they love about their area, what they don't really particularly like about their area, what can be improved, and how they can do that together. And from that, at that event, we're able to prioritise. So the issues which they raise, we can actually find out which issues are the most concerning, and develop a priority list, and then look at how we can start tackling that together before feeding it back. And then what we'll do from there is we've currently got a group of individual residents who obviously want to help their community. We're going to do a lot of work to make sure these individuals become a good group and a strong group, because we've seen, I think you're probably all aware that a lot of community groups, they go and they fall by the wayside, you know, if they haven't got that right structure. So we're going to be doing things like, we've got a good group guide where we talk to people, and we do workshops where we look at how they can sort of strengthen as a group and move forward. And then we hope to get that group constituted, and the difference with this constitution is that it will actually be one that they produce. A lot of the groups in Stoke-on-Trent that have been set up currently, it's sort of, this is a template for a constitution, there you go, sign it and you're up and running. This is going to be one that they develop with their objectives, and that's what we're going to develop with them. And then from that, a lot of it's going to be sort of action plan based. So rather than have meetings which are just talk shops and people come along and they have the little moans about this, that and the other, which they do every single time, we're going to be looking at this is what needs actioning, who's going to do it, and then we hope that that's going to be a more productive way of moving forward and getting these residents and services to start resolving and sort of bringing about transformational change.
The closing thought is, always start from the standpoint that the residents are the solution and not the problem. Thank you.